Yate Dauvon Yunche Tachini Nishlo Nakai Nijini Bashashin Sinajini Dashache Nakai Nijini Dashanale. Hello, I am a first-year student at the University of Arizona. Currently, I am undecided. However, I am transferring to business next semester. I was born and raised in Tucson, Arizona. My mom is from Red Rock, New Mexico, and my father is from Bermuda. 1 year ago, I would have never imagined where I am today. If you were to ask me what I thought about Native Student Outreach, Access, and Resilience, or SOAR, I probably wouldn't have had much to say. However, looking back at it now, I can confidently say how much it has shaped my perception of Indigenous scholars and Indigenous experience as a whole. I think everyone wishes they had a time machine at some point in their lives, and for me, being a mentee in Native SOAR was one of those moments. Learning new concepts along my friends, concepts I haven't given much thought to before, felt transformative. I had the unique experience and privilege to say I was a mentee before joining SOAR, been living that SOAR life. And it definitely opened up my perspective on Indigenous higher education. Over the years, Native SOAR also shared really amazing knowledge that I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. But the biggest takeaway for me was seeing Indigenous youth in higher education, especially ones that were from my people's tribe and res. It was a shell shock to see that. Growing up on Southside Tucson, the Indigenous makeup was primarily of Ta'ana Atam, shout out to my Atams, and Paskayaki tribes. Even then, Indigenous representation was always very lacking in school and everyday life. It was mind-blowing to see people from my res and higher ed. And not only that, but to see them in STEM fields excelling, it was awesome. Coming into freshman year of college, it was very exciting and nerve-wracking. When selecting my classes, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing when picking them out and was uncertain about most of them. However, when coming to choose my last gen ed, one class stood out to me. HED 397C, more affectionately known as Native SOAR. I felt like I found my golden ticket. Initially, in the class, I was pretty nervous, which was weird because I was around my people. I believe it came from a sense of needing to prove myself, my nativeness. For the first time, I was in a solely Indigenous space with Indigenous scholars and educators. Those feelings subsided once I got to know my wonderful people in my class. And once we got into the readings, I discovered a lot about Indigenous people in higher ed, and about myself as well over this past semester. I believe some of the biggest key takeaways for me personally in the readings was learning about historical trauma from systematic monsters and how that impacts our society today. According to Amanda R. Tachini, systematic monsters are the interlocking structures of power rooted in white supremacy, settler colonialism, racism, erasure, heteropatriarchy, and capitalism that disrupts sovereignty and belonging. It was also disheartening to see the data and statistics of Indigenous youth being a literal asterisk in student data. According to Shaw and Adel, Native American students are generally not reported or discussed in quantitative research findings, or are noted as not statistically significant, which has resulted in a phenomenon that has been referred to as the American Indian Research Asterisk. This asterisk is something we learned throughout the program. We learned how it has played into our lives as Indigenous scholars, and we also learned to look beyond this asterisk and succeed in higher ed. These readings of the asterisk and systematic monsters has made me reflect on my own family, more specifically on my cousin, who I call my brother. We're 6 months apart. I've never known this earth without him. I must give him credit and say I wouldn't be so intertwined with my culture without him. The res and spending time with him were synonymous, and I was excited to be with my Shanae every summer. And to see him not move into higher education and indirectly forced to stay and take care of the land and my family hurts. I think about him almost every day, especially in Indigenous spaces. The Indigenous knowledge he would bring would be so valuable. Throughout the semester, I have learned through the readings that much of this is because of systematic monsters. More specifically, how systematic monsters impose an idea that Indigenous do not belong. However, I know it's not over. The most valuable thing I have learned through the readings is about Indigenous weapons. More specifically, how knowledge shared between ourselves is our power. Kiet does not emphasize independence, self-reliance, and separativeness. Rather, people connect themselves to all entities in this world. This relation creates a bond in which the individual understands that they are not alone and have family and places. Kia is a term I learned throughout the program that I believe encapsulates this ideology I've taken away from Native SOAR. Having indigenous-based discussions like those held in Native SOAR is invaluable to us as Native people. This is how we beat systematic oppression and monsters. Knowledge is powerful, and the most beautiful thing is how that power transfers to us as mentors into the high school classrooms and into our mentees. It wasn't until I became a mentor that I realized how much Native SOAR meant to me as a mentee. In the beginning of my mentorship program, there were speed bumps that were had, including participation issues in the first month. No mentees was disheartening at first, however, it made my mentorship group show through how amazing they were. This semester wouldn't have been the same without them. Native SOAR put me in a professional team environment where we relied on each other. I'm grateful and blessed to say my team showed up and showed out. My mentoring sessions was always the highlight of my week. I would get so excited to work with my mentees, especially since they were so awesome. Man, they were so much better than I was as a mentee. Their ability to lock on to what we were sharing with them, but also being lighthearted with us and interact with us on a personal basis meant so much to me. Seeing them and seeing the knowledge that they also brought to the table, creating that indigenous space and having those indigenous discussions is what Native SOAR is all about. These thoughts, concepts, and conversations that have been held this semester is something that I am going to take with me forever. Thank you for listening. Akahet.